were a lot of fights in part 3. The team faced many threats in this journey, but how tough were these stand users? That's what we're going to be looking into today, and I will be ranking them by their stand's overall strength, how practical they are, the works. Araki makes conflict be more than just the issue at hand a lot of the time, and the surrounding problems also make up for why someone would be so strong. Maybe because their environment that they're in, you know? But let's get into this by going to the weakest tier. Starting with E tier, we have Oingo's Hnum, the ability to alter his appearance, and well, that's it. The power doesn't change his clothes. Hnum's transfiguration is not a fighting ability, it's a moderately good disguise to hopefully get you out of the fight with the wrong people. And when considering the strength of the stand users in the world, everyone is the wrong person when you have something this weak. Next, we have Arabia Fat's The Sun, and now I'm going to say that this one goes in a group of stands that would work better with another user assisting them, but as it goes right now, The Sun is terrible in 1v1 situations. It is especially terrible considering the fact that Arabia Fat does not have an immunity to his own power. So without precautions and an immunity, The Sun earns its spot in this whack tier. That's the case. Next on, we have D tier, and the D stands for, damn, that's a lot of characters. What the, because, well, we're gonna try to summarize each character in about 2 to 3 sentences, because there's not a lot of strong stands in Stardust Crusaders. A lot of these characters got off on the environment that they were in. First, we have Devo's Ebony Devil. It banks on him getting hurt first and staying alive. Even if you did get this ability off, a neutral environment would keep this from working. It's very impractical. Nina's Empress is another stand with Startup Lag. Again, don't bother trying if you need help in a fight, you have already lost. Next is Steely Dan and his stand Lovers. While its ability is good, in a frenzy, Steely Dan is not one of the characters who can fight with the others. You don't need to be Star Platinum to smoke this guy in a 1v1. Next to the party is Daniel J. Darby. If it isn't a game, then he ain't playing. His combat potential is a joke, so I promise you he's another one that's going to get smoked. Justice is here to join in the ring, but without help, they're not doing anything. Your chances are as good as the next if you have nothing to fake or possess. Strength can bind itself to a ship. Bro, what are we doing with this? Like, yeah, I can give you the scenario that, hey, what if we have a ship in the middle of nowhere? But that's so dumb. I hate this. That's so dumb. Move this down to E tier too, actually. You can't be up here. Manish Boy and Death 13 aren't about to do anything. So as long as you stay awake, the dub is yours for you to take. Now, Dark Blue Moon isn't doing anything anytime soon. It could be a slaughter if you were in the water, but since you're not, hands are all that he's got. Don't talk to me about this stand regarding J. Guile and Hangman. I do not have a rhyme for this. This character is not someone who I think would have a good chance against any of the other villains here, especially with how specific Reflections are. Sethin and Alessi would work better if Alessi was a more competent user. With that in mind, you have a weak user and a stand with no offensive options. So the result is that he gets smacked out of the ring. I wouldn't even bother with Judgment considering that this is going off of how well they'd fare in a 1v1 scenario against any of these stand users here. And that's not, oh, hey, you want 3 wishes? Like, what is that? Like, can you imagine that? Like, no, that's dumb. I can't even really give him credit for like kind of manhandling Polnareff because I'm like, okay, well, this is a mentally broken and just straight up weak Polnareff at this point. So it's not really much to say about that. So next we have C tier, and C tier here is a bit more conditional. And what I mean by that is that's based on your beliefs. So there's Mariah and T Darby. Mariah in most cases is also a part of the D tier. So it's very easy to just blop her there. But if you're some of the people that think of Mariah using Heritage for the Future, that's on the table. Now, personally, I don't, but that would also be hilarious and an immediate spot in C tier if that's the case. Like, imagine if she can defend herself as well as Heritage of the Future, but that's if you want to believe that. In most cases, we're just gonna put her into D tier. As for Talon's T Darby, this is based on how you register the interaction against Star Platinum. If you believe that Atom might have the speed to be considered a good combat stand, then the C tier placement here would make sense. There's also Wheel of Fortune, but I just think he's C tier. They did a pretty good job overall against the Crusaders, and I believe in a 1v1 situation, they could probably take it over a lot of the stands over here. Now, before we have B tier, we'll have B to C minus, B minus to C minus for Tower of Grey in specific. The speed and power of the stand are great, yes, but the only defense that it has is its speed. So, the characters ahead of Tower of Grey would most likely be able to deal with the stand with not much difficulty to it either, because, you know, oh, haha, hee hee, ho ho, you can't hit Tower of Grey, I'm so fast. And then you smoke Grey Fly, because how would he even be able to protect himself? Like, legitimately. But moving on into regular B tier, Anubis has shown itself to be a formidable opponent when present with an active user. Possessing a random farmer like Chaka turned him into someone that was able to give Polnareff a lot of push, so much push. I think that's more than enough for a B tier spot. And Anubis would probably be an S tier stand if we consider the Polnareff Anubis combo, but let's not, because you're only as good as your weakest user, I guess, in this situation. Something like that. He was given to a barber. Also, if it's about defeating the stand and the user, and the stand is the user in a sense, that's it, like, that's some Mickey Mouse type stuff. Like, he's in a bunch of water just left to rust, and he's pleading for a crab to help him.
Would you mind doing me a favor and taking me ashore?
That's so goofy. Like, man, I've not seen that many characters go out this bad. That is so sad. Behind Anubis, I'll put Rubber Soul and Whole Horse. Rubber Soul has a great defense even without assimilating anything in this 1v1 scenario. In addition to that, they can attempt to absorb the person that they're fighting, and I imagine that'd be really annoying because that's what happened with Star Platinum and Jotaro. As for Whole Horse, with the combination of homing bullets, point blank summons, and some plot armor, he's a likable character, I think he'd do a great job against many of these characters. There's a reason why he's been alive for so long. Now we're up to A tier. The next character here is Midler and High Priestess. With the ability to possess inorganic matter, not only can High Priestess do a great job with leveling the playing field, they can become the playing field. Midler had done a fantastic job against the Crusaders, and I think that this is an incredible powerhouse of a stand. Also, you might be thinking, well, how exactly is Midler going to be able to defend herself? She'll most likely be able to. High Priestess is a great stand. In addition to that, it has an insane amount of range, like ridiculous. Now, alongside Midler, we have Endul, some of the best range in the franchise with the combination of speed, power, and enhanced hearing. Without the help of Iggy, you can imagine that the Crusaders might have not made it out of that situation. I'd put Endul higher if that were an option, but unfortunately, there's Pet Shop. Not only are they broken in Heritage for the Future, but they're also a fantastic stand and user in the anime. These air icicles are legitimately unpunishable. If you're not getting out of the way, or say even able to hide underground, hide somewhere, you're a sitting duck. That's unfortunate, but the game is the game, and the manga, and the anime, all the same. And finally, aside from the DO tier, we have Vanilla Ice in the S tier spot. Now here's the thing, to confuse those who had clicked here directly, we're going to be showing visuals of other stand users while talking about Vanilla Ice. So Besides the glaring flaw of getting so into his head that it affects his fighting, I'd say the Vanilla Fias is easily the strongest minor villain in Stardust Crusaders. For the most part, he's a great assassin and would clear everyone below him without a doubt. Considering that he works under Dio because of his loyalty says something too, because imagine if you wanted to attack Dio with him inside of the Void. Aside from maneuvering around with time stop, you'd most likely be able to apply a lot of pressure against him, you know? I think you could take it a step further and say that Vanilla Ice could most likely perform exceptionally even if you dropped him into any other part, because his stand is legitimately that powerful. Oh, wait. You must have thought we were done. Well, guess what? You weren't thinking about all the other minor villains, huh? That's what I thought. This is a tier that's above all other tiers. You know what? It's time for X tier. You know, the tier that's meant for the most broken of the most broken and the snapped of the most snapped. You may be surprised to see these results. So you know what's up? In the X tier, we got Dio. And guess who else we got, huh? Guess. It's Kenny G because of his name. And these are my videos. Godspeed, everyone.